Hey everyone, Sunday night. It's all Lacrosse live. Gary will not be with us tonight. He may chime in from Prague at where it's 3 a.m. right now.
Yeah,
So,
something like that. Yeah.
but Shawn and I are here. We are going to go over all the craziness that happened in the NLL.
That's an understatement, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit. We'll briefly talk the Herbeski tournament too. We do have a winner and results. So we'll get right to it, I guess. The winner of the Herbeski tournament was the Victoria Leprechauns. They beat the Mega Man. Was it 8-7, 9-8?
I thought it was 9-8, but good. Gary may need to chime in.
Yeah. 8-7 in OT.
8-7.
So another great game, another great tournament. Head over to our our Facebook page, our Instagram. Gary has been putting in clips, videos here and there, showing the whole the venue and a whole bunch of the action. So it's been a phenomenal time out there for him. And I believe he will be part of the committee to select awards for the tournament as well.
Yeah.
So great news there. We should also mention some other great news involving Gary. Congratulations to him on his first ever nomination for the NLL's Tom Borelli Award, which is the Media Person of the Year. He's up against some pretty stiff competition. Guys like Teddy Jenner, Jake Elliott, Craig Rybczynski, Dave Buchanan, just to name a few. But very well deserved nomination, and we'll see if he makes the finalist list. So, yeah. So how about this weekend, Shawn?
Oh man. Where do we even start? I mean,
probably start Friday night with.
Let's start Friday night and the one. Let's start with shocker number one. With the number one seed, Vancouver Warriors out. Halifax shocks them 10-7, and I think as we've heard all weekend long, Vancouver goes up 7-1 at the half, and I think we're all like, "Yep, this is the Vancouver Warriors we're expecting, just to roll over them." And then Halifax outscores them 9-0 in the second half. Warren Hill is spectacular. Really kept them in that game.
Hey,
Eduardo Garcia. And yeah, that was.
We hear you. That's rough. I mean, we've talked about how how they're the worst. They've been the worst fourth quarter team. But Dom,
we'll get there, Dom.
We'll get there soon enough. So
yeah.
I mean they've been kind of all season the worst team in the fourth quarter, with regard to scoring, goal differential, all that. But I mean, just it kind of figured, hey, they're playing up with the lead. They should be able to hold on. And to have this happen, I had mentioned when I made my pick'ems for it that, both these teams, I hate to use the word desperate, but these were two teams that really needed to show something more than, hey, we just made the playoffs. For Halifax, it's been a constant pretty much since the move there in 2019. But, there's just been so many first round losses where the fans have just been hungry for for Halifax to move forward. I mean, they finally were able to last year, but then they ran into the rush, and that was a brick wall basically in the semifinals. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's congrats to Halifax, and I'll let you get into the stats and stuff. But for Vancouver, goodness,
Yeah, well, that's just the thing. You talk about, Vancouver being the worst fourth quarter team, but how do you not basically do anything in the second half?
in the second
And
half.
yeah, just get completely shut out like that, especially with the lineup you've got. And, like we were just talking on air, I mean, you can't pin this on Christian Del Bianco. He was pelted with 71 shots. The fact that they only allowed 10 is a miracle in itself.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I mean, geez, this is such a veteran defense. A lot like Buffalo or Colorado, where you just don't expect to see that volume of rubber, getting on the net. So
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, I mean, going to stats, I mean, the Jason Knox had the game of games for Halifax: 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points. Clark Peterson, 2 goals, 3 assists. Here's the interesting one. We kind of talked about this earlier. Cody Jamieson had a goal and 2 assists, and we said, every time we look at the score sheet, like Cody Jamieson seems to be taking all the shots. He seems to be taking all the shots. He was fourth in team shooting in this game. So he was not taking all the shots. Clark Pearson had 17 shots. Mike Robinson had 12. Jason Knox had 13. And then his Cody Jamieson had 10. So they were actually spreading the ball around, which is actually unusual for Halifax. Like usually, like we said, we've seen Cody Jamieson take the majority of those shots. And obviously it works. Like we're seeing the difference now. As for, Vancouver, this is where it kind of gets interesting. I mean, he had 2 goals from Marcus Claret. She had a goal and 4 assists from Jesse King. Keegan Ball with 3 goals and 3 assists. But I mean, I look at Adam Charlambiti's 2 assists. Shane Simpson had an assist. Steph Sharp, or Curtis Dixon, sorry, had a goal and an assist. Those guys that you were really looking to step up were invisible. And I also mentioned it as well. You guys kind of off air when this was all going down, was we kind of compared this Halifax team to that Calgary Roughnecks team that had Dane Dobie and Curtis Dixon, and the similarities to that. And here's another similarity: that team, of all the years they were together, won 1 championship. They always disappeared in the playoffs, and now we're seeing the exact same thing with this reincarnated Calgary Roughnecks team in Vancouver.
Yeah, and I mean, there's obviously going to be there's obviously going to have to be some sort of answering to do in the off season in Vancouver. You know, if there's one thing I don't like about this result and how all this went down is, just seeing comments in social media, you know, sort of alluding to what you just said, like, oh, we've got all these old players or all these old roughneck players. And, a few years ago, that was kind of the whole crux of, you know, getting Kurt Malosky
Yeah.
and getting these guys. It was, why can't we attract our homegrown talent to come play for us? Well, now you did. And okay, it didn't work this year. You didn't quite get there last year. I mean, is this year a step back from last year for them? To me, that's kind of a difficult question to answer, because you set a record, you set a franchise record for victories. Okay, yeah, I mean, the way this all went down doesn't look good. but you're gonna have Christian Del Bianco, probably for the next decade
Yeah,
in net. I mean, he's just getting into his prime, really. Um,
and that's scary. The fact that he's this good and he's just getting into his prime.
he is, and I think they have, you know, I mean, Gary's talked about, the lack of use of Peyton Cormier and all his accolades and what are you going to do with him and stuff like that. Um, I think Kurt Milosky has some contingencies in place already. Um, you know, not necessarily on that left side, but certainly on the right side. If let's just say Curtis Dixon decides to call it a career, I'm pretty sure that's the reason they went out and acquired Marshall King. So that he can come home, he can play with his brother, he can, build up the right side, on the offense. Um, as far as Cormier, I still think as a piece in a trade, I think it's still valuable.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think so, but
He's still valuable in trade. The only question mark I have with Marshall King is, and we kind of discussed this off air as well, is he hasn't played in a year or two now, and so you're going to bring him in, after being away from the game for a bit. One was an injury, and obviously another one was for personal reasons. But yeah, I think you are still taking a little bit of a risk, bringing in a guy who's hasn't played at that level for a couple of years and getting the fresh legs. The other point I wanted to make about this game is, we talk about how undisciplined Halifax is. Halifax only gave up, Vancouver only had 2 power plays, and Vancouver gave Halifax 7. So it's almost flipped the script there. And I don't care who you are. If you're giving another team 7 power plays, you're asking for a hurt. And and that's uncharacteristic of a Vancouver team to be taking that many penalties for being that good.
Yeah. The last thing I would add for Halifax is, obviously this win is huge because they're staying alive and they're moving to the next round. But that gives them another week or 2, really, to possibly see Randy Stotts and or Thomas Hogarth return to the lineup.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's there's it's kind of a hidden bonus for them to get important pieces in their offense back on the floor.
And that's why I kind of was wondering, being coming in as number 8 seed and knocking off number 1, does that now send a message in this playoffs now that we can't? Maybe we were underestimating this Halifax team.
I think so. Even I think most folks out there thought, hey, they're 8-10, had to win their final game just to get in, sort of the same as San Diego, these under 500 teams. So they really, belong there. But I think we can safely say that, what we've seen with the unified standings since they'd eliminated divisions is you're really getting the best 8 teams when you enter the playoffs.
Yeah, it's funny. We look at Halifax, especially when it came to the trade deadline, because they were almost sellers. They got rid of, Theed and Bell, but it almost seemed like they almost had to cut ties with those guys. It's kind of weird to say that, but
yeah, it's certainly worked out in their favor.
Yeah.
So
I guess we can probably move on to our next game here.
Yeah.
And
this will be Halifax's opponent, and it will be the Georgia Swarm, who 17-10 over Buffalo. But I mean, honestly, that this game really did not feel at all like it was close, almost at any point. I mean, Lyle Thompson opens the scoring 40 seconds into the game with just, top corner burner that just totally fired up the crowd. And that was just the beginning for him. He had a career high playoffs. Yeah, that's a very
That's
good
true.
point.
That's a great
Very
point.
good.
Yeah,
So
that's
definitely.
true. Yeah, yeah.
And hey, honestly, it's worked out for Thee too, and it's working out for Oshawa.
It really has. Yeah.
He's going to be, I think, a key part in Oshawa's offense next season.
I
So
think even Bell in Las Vegas, you know what? He looked completely different, right? He looks a little bit more focused. He's not taking those, so to speak, dumb penalties, undisciplined penalties. He looks a lot more focused in Vegas, and just seems like more structured system for him.
yeah, and maybe even a mentor role,
Yeah,
which maybe he wasn't necessarily doing in Halifax.
yeah, oh yeah.
So, but Lyle Thompson, career high, playoff high, 10 points, 4 goals and 6 assists. Um, Shane Jackson gets a hat trick and 2 assists. The young guys for Georgia just continuing to step up and just kind of defy everyone's expectations. Nolan Byrne, a hat trick and 3 assists. Richie Connell, also a hat trick and 2 assists, and uh, doing his best Callum Crawford jump shot impersonation there at the end of the game to close things out. Um, Head over to Twitter to find that clip because that was something. Caleb Benedict had a pair of goals and 4 assists. 3 of 4 on the power play. So, they took full advantage of, the opportunities Buffalo gave them with their undisciplined play. And, Brett Dobson, I mean, what can you say? I mean, when I made my pick and pick'ems, this was the only pick'em that I got right this week. And I said that, I felt like as much as we talked about, hey, we'll take Matt Vince against anyone in a one and done situation. I felt like this was Brett Dobson's chance to kind of take that same mantle. I mean, I felt like these two teams were not at all the same teams that met in the very first week of the season. When
Yeah.
when we had that, wonderful gaff with, Dobson in the penalty box when he shouldn't have been, and that whole that whole sequence with, they kill off the 5-minute major, and, they were still within 2 goals, and then, there's the mishandled ball in the crease, and Buffalo just runs away with it from there. I mean, 10 goals allowed. So, a little over his record-setting GAA, but enough to
Yeah.
enough to seal the victory. And I mean, the questions for Buffalo, they were without Steve Priolo. He went on IR. We don't really know what that was all about. If it had something to do with the fight with Beers from a couple of weeks ago, maybe that he'd gotten injured. But credit to Georgia's defense for shutting down this Bandits offense. Even as they lose rookie defender Michael Grace in the first quarter to a oof, ooh,
That
it
was a
was
tough
tough.
one.
It was
Yeah.
tough to watch. Non-contact injury. Looked like it had to be either knee or Achilles.
Yeah.
Just
I'm thinking Achilles
went
usually
right
is
down.
one of those. Yeah.
He couldn't put any weight on that leg at all as he was being helped off the floor. But I mean, the defense. Credit to the defense for stepping up. I mean that happened early in the game. They hold they hold Dane Smith just 2 assists,
Yeah.
which
That's
I mean,
unbelievable.
yeah, I had to triple take looking at the box score on that stat. Um, Josh Byrne just a goal and 5 assists. Joe Resiteritz had just a goal and 2 assists. Um, Clay Scanlon just a goal. I mean, nothing from Nanakoke, who had just come off IR. Ian McKay led the way with a hat trick and 2 assists. And honestly, I mean, even a couple. I mean, two of their 10 goals were pretty much in the last minute of play. They were pretty much garbage time goals. Um, the goal from Cam Wires was just kind of off a fluke when Dobson made a brilliant save, rushing back to the net, well out of the crease. He just didn't have enough time to reset himself as
Yeah.
Wire picked up the loose ball from behind the net. So, this could easily have been 17-7. And honestly, right until the end, Georgia looked like they could have just kept their foot on the gas and gone for 20 and easily gotten it.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Matt Vince, 34 saves. Obviously for them, the question now is, you know, you're not getting the four-peat. Um, you know, is he gonna call it quits? You know, uh, if he does, it's unfortunate for him to kind of go out with that kind of performance. Um, but
Yeah, that's why I kind of wonder, is this kind of an end of the era with Buffalo? Are we going to start seeing some wholesale changes?
I mean, I think I want to be realistic about it. So, I mean, I think they need to really take a hard look at it. I mean, there are still a lot of pieces that work there, but they're just I hate to say it, but I mean we've been saying it since
Yeah.
2019. We say it every year. They're getting older. They're getting older. They're getting older. Well, now we're 7 years past that. I was starting to say it. I mean, we were getting worried about Steve Priolo's age, Dane Smith's age. Now you're looking at you know Paul Dawson's approaching 40, right?
Yeah.
Vince is 43. Um, Kyle Buchanan's approaching 40. Priolo's got to be approaching 40.
Yeah.
I mean, much in the same way, Vancouver is going to have these same issues. When you got guys like Matt Beers, Brett Midsky, Curtis Dixon, they're all in their late 30s. You know, Dilks is maybe a couple years behind that, but he's getting
He's getting up there, though. Yeah.
he's getting long in the tooth. So, uh,
I feel like that situation is a little bit different. I think they're still trying to look for that championship, so they're going to go after some of those older players that could probably get them there. But I feel like Buffalo is kind of past that now, where they've got their championships. Things haven't been going right now with those older players, and it's maybe time to start moving on from them. But what do I know? Like you said, we've been saying this for 7 years, and they just keep proving us wrong. But at this point, it's a
yeah,
first round exit. But
I mean, it's a good point because Buffalo does have that, much like Toronto, they do have that, for lack of a better word, edge as far as being able to lure players.
yeah,
in free agency because of geographical location.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's not to say that Vancouver doesn't, because Vancouver could become they could become easily the Western version of that. And I think we're starting to see it already with them, attracting, players who, who grew up and played all their life
Yeah.
in the Lower Mainland or out on the island.
Yeah.
So
And I think that was kind of twofold. I mean, they were having time attracting BC players because at that point they were not a good team. They were losing. Who's going to go to a losing team that's not a contender? And B, I mean, we always talk about the Kurt Milosky effect, right? And
yeah,
what he brings to the table. He can attract players like no one's business. So
yeah, yeah, and hey, I mean, you have to wonder. I mean, these are probably not the two. These are probably not two good examples, but you know, Challen Rogers and Josh Byrne are both BC guys and star players.
yeah,
So I mean, not saying you start there or you try to make some giant free agent splash, but um, it's more to get out the point that there are guys on Eastern teams who are Western guys, if you will,
oh yeah,
that they might be looking to, and I think Gary mentioned it last week that going back to the Peyton Cormier situation and what to do with him, that he is an Eastern guy, so maybe there's an Eastern team that can use him where a trade makes sense, but that has to be tempered against the whole idea of, hey, he's hardly played, he's hardly been on the floor, you know.
yeah. And I just look at the direction of the league too. You just look at the Final Four here and what you need to do to be a contender now. You look, Georgia Storm's a good example of what you saw last night. Keen Moon with 6 assists. We talk about CJ Kurse being the front runner for rookie of the year, but I don't think we're talking enough about Nolan Byrne. His 3 goals and 3 assists, and just the year he's having has been outstanding. Even though they got a really good young core. If you look at the Toronto Rock, they got a really young core. Again, you look at San Diego, they dumped a lot of their older players, got younger. They're right into it. Maybe Halifax is maybe a little bit of the exception to the rule, but you're seeing more and more of these teams getting younger, and they're the contenders.
Yeah, and I mean, we very well could see it with Calgary rebuilding, with what Glenn Clark has been building for several years now in Oshawa, kind of, shedding off, veterans. I mean, some exceptions like Ryan Benesh. I mean, I'm sure they'd love to have him back, just, for mentorship, that to have that intangible, in addition to playing would be a huge boost for their young core. And Philadelphia, they've kind of shed a lot of their veterans now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess we can move on to our next game here. And of course, I'm wearing my Toronto Rock jersey to pay up my bet with Gary here, I guess. The Rock take out the Saskatchewan Rush 16-13. And honestly, the Rock really controlled this game from start to finish. They were ahead 6-2.
Yeah, that's a good point, Arthur, because that's actually I think that's the most of any team in the NLL. I believe it was mentioned on the broadcast. They dressed more players than any other team in the NLL this year. So I mean, kudos to them certainly for kind of being able to deal with that sort of adversity.
Oh yeah,
constant rotating lineups and.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, the guy gets back to this game. Yeah, it was 6-2 for Toronto after the first quarter. Saskatchewan starts to get a little momentum going. They got goals from Levi Anderson and Ryan Keane to get within two. Power play goal. Weird kind of play where it kind of went off CJ Kerr's stick and in the net. And it was just that kind of night for Toronto where they were just everything was going right and everything was going wrong for Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan did get their transition going with Connor McCollum and Ryan Barnbull scoring. Robert Church did tie it up. But then with about 38 seconds left, Latrell Harris blocks a shot and goes in on a breakaway and scores to give an 8-7 lead into the second half. This is kind of where I feel like the turning point was. Brock Haley scores 17 seconds into the third quarter. I'm thinking, okay, you know what? They got a real quick start in the third. They're got the momentum now. Robert Church scores. Now they got 9-8 lead. But then the wheels really kind of fall off. Josh Dawick scores on the power play. Chris Boucher, who ended with 5 goals and really led the Rock. But this was the backbreaker to me, was with about 4 seconds left heading into the fourth. The Rush were still only down 1. It was a 10-9 game. Mark Matthews scores like right at the buzzer. So now it's a 2-goal game heading to the fourth. And I felt that just deflated this Rush team. Heading into the fourth, again, Hugh Kelleher makes it a 3-goal game. Zach Mans scores, makes it 12-10, but then a 3-goal run by Toronto, including a transition goal by Elijah Gash, and it makes it 15-10. Eventually it's 16-11. Again, we've seen this with the Rush before. They've scored 5 quick goals before, but they just couldn't do it. A couple of late goals by Austin Shanks, but that was pretty much it. I was on the broadcast, luckily. Big thanks to Cody Jansen for having me on and doing that. And I had a chance to talk to former Rush player Keegan Bell about this, and I completely agree with him. He said, I think it's really hard, at least for the Rush, to pinpoint kind of one thing that happened. I think it's just kind of it was just not a good game for them. There were missed passes on offense, missed assignments on defense. Honestly, again, I have a hard time paying this one on Frank Giuliano. Yes, I know he gave up 15 goals, but again, there was a lot of missed assignments on defense. And just quite honestly, they were outplayed. The Toronto Rock just outplayed them. They seemed to want it more. As I mentioned, 5 goals and assists for Chris Boucher, 3 goals and 3 assists for Josh Dawick, a hat trick for CJ Kirst, Mark Matthews with a goal and 4 assists for Owen Hilt. So their young guys really showed up for the Rush. You had 3 goals and 4 assists from Austin Shanks. That was one guy we felt really needed to kind of step up for Saskatchewan, and he did. However, it kind of dropped off. Robert Church, 3 goals, 3 assists. You had a goal and 3 assists from Zach Mans. But then it really kind of drops off. Another kind of turning point, Levi Anderson had a goal and 2 assists. Actually, when it was, I believe, 7-7. No, I'm sorry. I have to figure out what the score was at this point. It would have been... Sorry, it was the 9-9. When it was 9-9, Levi Anderson did score, so it was looking like the Saskatchewan Rush were going to go up 10-9, but that goal was waved off for a foot in the crease. And again, that could have been another turning point there where you got momentum back again because you got the lead, but that got wiped out. And it was the right call. I mean, he was in the crease. So, I mean, again, it was just one of those nights where, Toronto just outplayed them, plain and simple.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going to move forward, and we'll get to that last game in a bit.
Yeah.
And all its drama. But yeah, I mean, credit to the Rock. I mean, there were concerns from some, okay, Mark Matthews back in the lineup, but Dan Craig also back in the lineup, and there was kind of that, that feeling, Dan Craig's had a difficult season. He's been plagued by injury, been inconsistent. Should you just keep rolling the dice with the young guys? Obviously Kirst and Hiltz stepping up. of course. Um, and no, they have not, Arthur.
No, they haven't.
that's that's for sure. I mean, really since that overtime loss to Buffalo in Week 14, they
Well, that stretch really like they that 3 game stretch where they won the first one, then they lost 2 overtime to Rochester and Buffalo, and that's when the slide started.
yeah, and I mean, I guess what becomes the question now for Saskatchewan moving forward, because it really does feel like you have all the pieces. And, obviously this is, in terms of how far you made it in the postseason, this is a step back, certainly from, you know, being down one going into the second half of game 3 of the finals.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I mean, that was the question that was brought up to us in the post game show is like, what now? Like, what needs to change? And I mean, my answer was I don't think there needs to be a wholesale change. That's for sure. I don't think you need to tear this thing apart. But one thing that became quite evident is they're definitely undersized on defense. I think they need to find another bruiser, like a big guy on defense that can kind of a stay-at-home kind of guy and just kind of bolster that defense a little bit more. I think they're just pushed around a little too much. At that same extent, I mean, they still have a lot of good pieces and they got a lot of athletic guys on that defensive end. It's maybe just getting a little bit bigger on that side. And I thought the other X factor in this game too was what kind of Nick Rose was going to show up. Well, I mean, the Rock Road shot 62-48. So Nick Rose was outstanding. I mean, you got the Nick Rose that you wanted if you're a Toronto Rock fan.
Yeah, and they've been getting the Nick Rose they've wanted ever since he came off IR, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
In one game, I think.
Yeah, but again, for the rest, I don't think there needs to be a wholesale change. I know the other thing that I've been kind of on is, and I gotta be careful about words here because I don't think it at all that Frank Chileano's washed up or anything like that. But I think he played he started 17 games this season. Tom Kostiuk only started 1. I would like to see Kostiuk start maybe 3 or 4 games at least to give Frankie a little bit of a break. He seems to be better when he has that little bit of a break midway through the season, but he didn't really get that this year. Again, like I said, I'm not throwing this all on Frankie on any of these losses. I think he was played quite well, but I would see Thomas Kostiuk have some more time, but I don't think it's got to be a 9-9 or something like that, or giving him a significant amount of time, just a little bit more, just 2 or 3 more games.
No, that definitely makes sense. I mean, you could argue. I mean, it was because of injury, obviously, to Nick Rose, but Toronto got that. Not in the way they wanted, but Nick Rose got rest this year. You can certainly argue that, with Buffalo, it's a different situation because you have, a rookie who's, completely green and doesn't have many reps. But how might Buffalo have fared if Matt Vince had gotten more rest during the season?
And I just looked
even one game.
Yeah, and I just looked last year, Frank was out for a few weeks when his wife gave birth, and Thomas Kostiuk had to step in, and that's the year they went to the championship. So he got that rest, so to speak. Not that he probably get much rest with a new baby, but you're not on the floor taking shots, not having to worry about that. You get that rest. That's where I'm coming from. I still think Thomas Kostiuk is still young and he can still grow for sure. He's going to be the future of the franchise. There's no doubt about that. He's going to learn behind somebody excellent like Frank Chileano. We talked about who's been behind him in the past. Christian Del Bianco was behind him and learned from him in Calgary. Chris O'Reilly was behind him in San Diego and learned from him in San Diego. So, he has developed a lot of good goaltenders behind him. So I think you give a few more years till Thomas is, your full time starter. But I don't think you completely throw Frank out at this point.
No, no, not at all. So I definitely agree with that. You know, and another point I'd make, about getting in, the whole argument of maybe getting your starting goalie some rest is a team that did not make the playoffs, Ottawa.
Yeah. So as far as I can tell,
Zach
Higgy played all those,
Wiggins,
did he? Yeah.
yeah, really did not get, other than, maybe games where, he got, lifted, because they were losing. Uh, you have to wonder again. I mean, I guess it's a tough call because, I mean, we had not one but two teams this year, neither of which made the playoffs. With kind of a, that kind of got into this rotating goaltender situation. In Vegas and in Rochester.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of that, like, at all. Like, I'm all for rest, but I think you still have to have a number one. Like,
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. Um, you know, I, I just wonder if maybe, I guess if I were in a head coach's shoes, I'd have the concern of, well, okay, hey, maybe we're playing, let's just say, Oshawa or Philadelphia, who's, at the bottom of the league. We we kind of saw the last couple of weeks of the season. There were a few games that, kind of ended up being what most folks will call trap games, where a top team was playing a team at, near the bottom of the standings and ended up losing to them.
yeah.
When most people kind of thought they would just roll over them. So, I don't know that any of those games had a situation where they were starting the backup, but
And I mean, that's where it came in with Saskatchewan was, Kostiuk played in that Rochester game again on that stretch of 3 games in 6 or 7 days there where they were really kind of forced their hand to play him just because there's no way you're getting Frankie in all 3 of those games.
right, right. No, it's definitely an interesting sort of dilemma.
And it's always been kind of a part of his career, right? Like we've seen Frankie when he doesn't kind of get that rest, where he does kind of taper off. Uh, but again, I don't think, and I don't know what you've seen, Mike, but I don't think the Rush need wholesale changes. It's just maybe a piece here or there.
No, not at all. And kind of going back to moving pieces that aren't playing for you right now. Again, they have Patrick Dodds on their roster.
They have Dodds, and I think you're going to see Levi Anderson get more playing time, more and more playing time. I mean, he did look really good against Toronto, which, leaves Clark Walter. And I mean, he could fetch some high bidders the way he's played when he gets in the lineup.
Yeah, yeah, it's certainly a possibility. I mean, you just have to wonder. The only concern I have with Dodds is that other point you brought up. Going back to Marshall King, is that he hasn't played in the league for
A couple of years now. Yeah.
at least 2 years
At
now.
least 2 years. Yeah.
And I mean, we spend an awful lot of time talking about how kind of once you get out of the league, it's hard to get back in.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few exceptions, credit to certainly guys like, Ryan Benesh, Stephen Keogh. We've seen that they can still play, at the highest level. Um, you know, despite having time off or time away from the league. So, uh, it just that's a tough one. That's
Yeah, especially with a guy like Dodds, because I mean, he was only in the league for what 3 years,
years. I mean, he's got to be
so he
he's
doesn't
got
have
to
a
be in
ton.
his 20s or something like that.
So he doesn't have a. He's not really a, for lack of a better term, I guess, known commodity, right? Like, there's not a ton of tape on him. He had
I mean,
one great
yeah,
year,
yeah,
right? But
yeah. I mean, well, I mean, he finished second rookie of the year voting, didn't he?
yeah,
For Panther City.
yeah, behind Teeth, I believe. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I get the sense that it's like if you have him and you think he still has decent value despite not playing for a couple of years, I look at that value and think it's only going to diminish the longer he stays held out. You know,
Yeah, because I mean, you don't want that situation like Rabel and Toronto where you're just holding on to him and just keep up a roster spot. And he's never coming back, right? Like,
right, right, right. If you need to move, or if he needs to be somewhere else in order to play, and he still has value in a trade, it feels like you just need to move him sooner than later, because pretty soon it's going to get to the point, well, hey, this guy's been out of the league for 4 years now. And it's like, well, why are we going to trade for him? Why are we going to trade for a guy who's whatever, 28 or 29, when we could just go ahead and draft someone who's 22?
and again,
And
that's another thing. I'm just looking up now, but
get
I'm pretty sure
ourselves.
he's a BC guy, so maybe Vancouver be looking at him.
They certainly could. But, going back to your point, I don't think Curtis Dixon's retiring. I mean, he just posted his 10th 40 plus game. So he shows no signs of slowing down.
Yeah. Yeah. He's from Victoria, but I mean, I just look at his stats. Right, his rookie of the year he had 84 points, but then the year after that was 50 and 41. So there was a big drop off in his second and third years. So that's why I mean he's not really a known commodity when you're talking about like a Kehoe and guys like that who left and came back. At least they were a known commodity. They'd been in the league for quite a few years. You knew what you were getting. Whereas here, he was in here for only 3 years. He had a great rookie season, but then kind of dropped off after that. So I'd be kind of iffy as to what exactly I'm getting still.
True. That's a good point. All right. Well, I guess that brings us to the weekend and the large amount of drama that's followed in its wake.
Oh, yeah.
The San Diego Seals beat the Colorado Mammoth 13-12 in overtime, with the overtime goal becoming the big controversy and overshadowing even Halifax's comeback at this point, or Buffalo being eliminated. I mean, a pretty even game. The first half. A lot of trading goals. Colorado takes a 6-4 lead kind of late in the second quarter on some back-to-back goals by Andrew Q. Eli Gobrecht beats the buzzer to cut it to 6-5 at halftime. Second half, kind of more of the same. Colorado was up 11-7 late in the third. Seals go on a 5-goal run to take the lead. Really, it was their first lead since since the second quarter. Dylan McIntosh scoring with just under 4 minutes left to tie the game at 12. We go into overtime. And this is where the craziness happens just under a minute in. Trey Leclerc scores the game winner. However, he his initial shot attempt, as we'll talk about in a sec, does not actually make it onto goal. Looked like it might have been blocked by a Mammoth player. Yeah, some sort of deflection. Off to the side, his momentum takes him into the crease, or at least his foot does step on the line. He gets himself out of the crease. Westberg picks up the loose ball, kind of at goal line extended, and fires a pass back to Leclerc for a quick stick that gets past Dylan Ward for the game winner. They rule it a goal. They did a pretty extensive review on it, upheld the call, but as we've seen,
I actually have a statement here if you want me to read it from Brett Fruit.
Yeah, we have a
okay, so this is a statement from the commissioner. The National Lacrosse League has determined that the San Diego Seals' overtime goal by Trey Leclerc against the Colorado Mammoth should have been disallowed. After league review, the league has concluded that Leclerc violated rules 67.3 and 17.81 by being the first player to receive a pass after exiting the crease. As such, the goal should have been disallowed and possession awarded to Colorado. As part of the league's standard accountability process, the on-floor officials from this game will not be assigned further games during these playoffs.
All right.
Guys, where do you want to start with this one?
Yeah.
Can we go through the rules first?
Yeah. Please bear with us, everyone who's watching, listening.
Okay, so let's go through the rules first. So let's start with what is a shot on goal, because that kind of has come up. So under 21.3 in the rule book, a shot on goal is a shot on goal shall be defined as a shot where the ball makes contact with any part of the goalkeeper while he is in his crease area, the goal post or crossbar, or crossing the goal line. A shot that hits a part of the goal post that does not go in, or a ball that continues in play. A shot on goal is awarded and a save is credited. The head of a player's stick must be equal to or in front of the goal line extended to be credited as a shot on goal. So, under that definition, Leclerc's initial shot hit a defender and missed the net. It did not hit the goaltender or a goal post. It was not a shot on goal as defined by the rule book. So we talk about section 73.2, attacking player first touch after a shot on goal. It's a moot point because we know the definition of a shot on goal is, I guess, to explain that, basically says that if it's a shot on goal, basically Leclerc couldn't be the first one to touch the ball, which meant that Westberg was one to first touch the ball and he could have passed it to Trey Leclerc. But it's a moot point because by definition of the rule book, it was not a shot on goal, so you have to go by 76.3, which is, a player entering the crease and exiting the crease without the ball, and they cannot be the first one to receive a pass, which he did. So from what I've seen from the rule book, it was an incorrect call on the floor. And what the commissioner said is correct. And 67.2 does not apply.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously it's a tough one to swallow for a number of reasons. We've already seen the comments. That just not even just Mammoth fans. Just fans in general, kind of up in arms about it. For me, obviously there's two ways to look at it. It sucks, especially for the Mammoth. That there's kind of no turning back at this point.
Yeah.
There's the obvious frustration of the fact that, they spent a lengthy amount of time reviewing it and still got it wrong, especially when the league has been, touting the new review system and how it's going to,
Yeah.
you know, help, make sure that calls are correct, that game flows better, and just the whole nine, the whole 9 yards there. Uh, that there's the obvious comments. Well, if the Seals win the championship, it's an asterisk. This affects them too. I look at it that way. It's if you're Seals fan, sure, you're happy you won the game. You probably don't want to be carrying this baggage through the rest of the playoffs for sure. And everyone thinks you got away with murder, more or less. I mean,
Yeah, and I'm kind of on the same boat, right? Like, number one, as you said, it was because it was an overtime, it goes to automatic review. How did we get it wrong when it went to automatic review? That should have been caught, and it wasn't, and I just don't understand why. I see some comments saying, "Oh, the next major league." Well, yeah, it does make the league kind of look bad when the referees can't even get it right on a replay. But to that extent, again, like the league's in a tough spot now, right? Like what they can't just say, "Hey, everybody, go back on the floor now and replay overtime." It's just you can't do that. You can't automatically award the win to Colorado. That's not right either. I mean,
yeah,
they
because if you
did pretty
disallow the
much what
goal,
they could.
the game's still going to be tied, obviously.
Yeah, I mean,
One thing I'm just thinking about it right now, it almost kind of exposes maybe a flaw with with automatic reviews. You throw a challenge flag during the course of a normal game. You throw a challenge flag, ref's going to come over to the head coach, and you're going to, as the head coach, are going to verbalize, what it is you want them to look at that you think, should result in goal, no goal, whatever it is, the outcome you're looking for. Things go to automatic review like under 2 minutes, or in this case, in overtime. Should the officials be going to the head coaches and asking to look at anything? And that's
even
a
that.
dicey question, because it's like, okay, because on the one hand, you're thinking, okay, hey, the refs should know their job. They should be looking for anything and everything while they're in the booth. But here
And
we
that's the
are.
tough one. And that's the tough call too, right? Because when you go, and that's a great point. Because, like you said, they're given a specific thing to look at when there's a challenge. But when it's automatic review, what are they actually looking for? Are they looking for a foot in the crease when they shoot the ball? How far did they go back on that replay? They may have not even seen Trey Leclerc's foot in the crease coming out because they didn't go that far back in the replay. Because that's not what they were looking for. They were looking for a foot in the crease on the shot, the initial shot,
On the
or the
second
shot
shot.
that went in. On the second shot, sorry,
Yeah.
the shot that actually went in.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's interesting, and perhaps that's a really good point, because perhaps that's why they missed it, is that they didn't go back far enough to see the initial shot and what happened after that. Which sounds like we're opening the can of worms even more here, But I guess for lack of a better word, the other side of the coin here is, you know, the league came out with this statement within 24 hours of the game.
That I can at least respect. At least, the league didn't sit on this. They
They took
acted
accountability,
swiftly.
and
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we talked about it here on the show, where some sort of incident happens, and on a Saturday, in week 3, and sometimes we're not hearing about a resolution to everything until week 5.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, like, what are you doing in the office? Shouldn't you be looking at this right away? It's kind of important.
Yeah.
And not that, folks in the league office don't have other things to do, but when those controversies come up, of course, everyone is the players, the coaches, the fans, everyone, they want to get an answer right away, right or wrong. They want to hear some sort of resolution kind of as soon as possible, and feel like I don't want to say they're being paid attention to, but just that,
Yeah.
whatever controversy it is, incident, game winning goal like this or whatever, that it's being taken seriously, and
Yeah.
that it's being given a thorough review.
Yeah.
So,
I guess that's the point I was getting at, right? Was, I know, Mammoth fans and other fans are not going to like, what came out of the statement. But like I said, they acted swiftly, and there is accountability. At least there is some accountability, because, like I said, I don't think it's reasonable to ask everyone to come back to replay overtime at this point. I mean, I just don't think that's reasonable to ask. I mean, especially guys who have other jobs, right? That's throws them completely for a loop. But at least there's some accountability in throwing, these on floor officials out of the playoffs now and saying, what, you guys are done. Like, at least there's some type of accountability with it. Unfortunately, maybe it's not the ones that, fans are going to like, but that's again where it puts the league in a tough spot, where I think they did as much as they could.
yeah. And I mean, to your point with accountability, let's be honest, we're not going to see this kind of accountability out of the NFL or Major League Baseball or the NBA. In most cases, they're going to double down and say, okay, hey, we're backing what our officials say.
Yeah, usually they're very protective of their officials.
And sorry, it is what it is. Move along.
And basically, saying sorry. It is what it is. But hey, we're keeping our officials accountable for the mistake. Which, I mean, what more? You really can't ask for anything more. I mean,
yeah, and I mean, I think everyone can rest assured that the league is gonna this is gonna move right to the top of the league's priority list in the off season.
Yeah,
as they prepare for 26-27. So, I mean, it's obviously it's tough. Puts a damper on what was otherwise a thrilling game. Just a couple of quick stats here for Colorado. Dylan Ward, 55 saves. San Diego did their best to try to match Halifax in shots on goal, firing 68 themselves. So Andrew Q, who did come back into the lineup after being out at the end of the season, 4 goals, 3 assists. Dylan McIntosh had a hat trick and an assist. Will Malcolm, 2 goals, 7 assists. You got a goal and 3 assists each out of Braden Saris and Jack Hanna. Jordan Gillis had a goal. Thomas Vela had 2 assists. For San Diego,
oh man,
that would be something.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean,
is it plausible? Is the other thing.
I've had that thought of having some sort of even to see if a ball crossed a goal line, like if you had a chip inside the ball and something, some sort of
Well, they kind of have that technology in tennis.
You know,
They have that technology in tennis, right, where they can see where the ball lands, see whether it's in or out. I mean, so that technology exists. It's
yeah. So
how's
you
that technology going to cost? It's
yeah,
not free, right? So
crosses the
how
plane and
possible
something
this? Yeah,
lights up, and you know it's a goal. That's. Thank you, Dominic. That's a very good point.
that's a good point.
Um, for San Diego, uh, they taking advantage. We talked about Andrew Q being in the lineup for Colorado. Matthew Paolato, face-off guy, was not. Trevor Baptiste made the most of that. 26 of 29 on face-offs. Um, you had 3 goals and 4 assists from Westberg. Dylan Watson had a hat trick and an assist. Zach Courier also had a hat trick and 4 assists. Trey Leclerc, 2 goals and assist, including that game winner, controversial. Ben McIntosh had a goal and 2 assists. He had 3 assists out of Noah Armitage. Chris Origlieri, 33 saves. This is the big one for me. Um, you have to wonder if this whole controversy with the overtime goal goes away if San Diego finds a way to actually score a power play goal. They went 0 for 6.
That's a concern. Yeah,
It's certainly a concern going forward, but
yeah,
I mean, if they convert 1 or 2 of those,
and
this game's not even going to overtime, and we don't
yeah,
have this whole drama. So certainly something to look at, going forward. But they will be advancing. They'll be taking on Toronto Rock in a best of 3, and we do have most of the schedule for the semifinals.
no, we have the schedule. So we'll go with the Toronto Rock and San Diego first. Game 1 is in Toronto on Friday. Game 2 is Sunday in San Diego, and if needed, Game 3 will be on May 9th. And yeah, I guess we don't have the full schedule yet for Halifax and Georgia, but Game 1 goes on Saturday in Georgia, and Game 2 goes the next Saturday, May 9th in Halifax. So
yeah, it's just reading through things. Good on them, I guess.
yeah.
It's definitely a tough situation all the way around. But the issue I think with the issue with Game 3 in Georgia is I believe Gas South Arena is booked for other events on both the 9th and the 10th. So,
So Game 3 could be the next weekend after that, maybe.
yeah, either that or, I mean, obviously it's not a problem if there's a sweep either way.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, if that one goes to Game 3, it's funny because, we could have a winner in the San Diego Toronto series before we even know who wins.
yeah, and it's that's let's hope that it's not the other black eye after this overtime goal for the league that if San Diego and Toronto manage to wrap up either way with a sweep next weekend, that they don't have to wait 2 weeks
Yeah, that could be an issue.
playing, because Halifax and Georgia get drawn out to 3 weeks to finish a 3-game series.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. No, real good point.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, if anything, yeah, that's the word. I believe Gas South Arena is Friday and Saturday. Yeah, I wish they, you wish
Yeah,
they could, but they're definitely not going to
they can't do that,
Georgia
unfortunately.
of
Yeah.
home floor advantage. I suspect what's going to happen is we're probably going to see like a Monday or Tuesday game in Georgia.
Yeah.
Just the fall. It's going to be on like the 12th or 13th or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what you have to do.
Oh, we have, Dominic. We've talked about that a lot. I mean, but
Actually, I just went on to the official release by the National Lacrosse League, and Game 3 is TBD if necessary. So they're still working that out. But the finals will start, they're saying, on Thursday, May 14th. Well, that weekend, Thursday, May 14th to Sunday, May 17th. So that weekend. So it'd probably be that Saturday, I would think. So
oh wow, let's
they're
hope
still
there's not
playing.
a Thursday night game. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I doubt it. They
Especially
usually
if
just kind of,
Halifax, Georgia, end up playing that Monday, Game 3, that Monday or something, or Tuesday. You're talking about a 2 or 3 day turnaround to start the finals.
yeah. Yeah. And so I guess they're giving that weekend, and they're saying Thursday, May 21st to Monday, May 25th for a possible Game 3. So,
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, because with Halifax and Georgia, now you're looking at a same situation like Sask had with the 3 games in 7 days.
yeah.
If they go to Game 3 that second weekend and then have to turn around, yeah, that
Yeah.
is not good. That is not good. Hopefully they can figure something out and find a way to push the finals to kind of a Saturday night or whatever. Do the double header, the following weekend if it has to go 3 games.
Yeah. Like, I would almost think they'd probably do it like the Toronto series and probably go like a Friday, Sunday, but still, like, that's a short turnaround for whoever comes out of, Halifax, Georgia, if it goes to 3 games.
And I mean, I get why they set it up this way to do, let one series do, double header the first weekend, let the other series do the double header if needed, the second weekend. So you can kind of try to space things out because,
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, this weekend, I mean, there's a reason I don't have my recap of San Diego, Colorado up. It's because, I was still busy watching Georgia and Buffalo when, San Diego and Colorado were almost at halftime by the time I got done with watching Buffalo and Georgia. So,
So tell me about it. I was trying to do live updates on the Rush broadcast, trying to watch 2 games, 3 games at once. And
yeah, that was tough. You kind of wish,
yeah, like, you don't want those.
wish one of those 4, with only 4 games, you kind of wish they found a way to space them out a little better.
And it looks like Saturday, if we have Game 3s, we will have some overlap on the May 9th.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, well, we'll see what happens with all that. Now, I guess before we go, we'll get to one final horror of the weekend, and that would be our pick'ems.
5-game lead, they said. It would be safe, they said. Well, really, who saw the top 3 teams? Well, other than maybe Gary. Who has seen the top 3 teams going out? Like,
Gary did indeed. Gary went 3-1 on the weekend, only missing Vancouver. Caden came in at 2-2. He got Halifax and San Diego. I had just Georgia, went 1-3, and you and Pat can add that to your 0-5 weekend. But
yeah,
you are still in the lead.
It's not safe anymore, though.
No, it's definitely not. So Shawn is at 79-51. Caden now just 2 games behind at 77-53. Pat 3 games behind Caden at 74-56. Gary 72-58. He jumps ahead of me. So basement's all to myself again. 1-59. Yeah, I threw him out like Jazz in the Fresh Prince. So yeah, but I mean, hey, listen, we'll toot our own horn here. I mean, for each of us to be, I mean, with the worst record, I'm still 12 games over 500.
Yeah.
This late in the year, we're talking 130 games. So
And we've had a few rough weeks like that where the crazy did happen. And
no, we definitely are, and I mean, even though I'm 8 games back, I mean, there's still a maximum of 9 games to go. So
oh yeah,
not that
not mathematically out of it yet.
yeah, no, technically not. Feel like Ottawa right now, though. So,
I guess finally was want to give our feelings on these last 2 series.
yeah, I mean, Halifax and Georgia. I mean, to me, I mean, Dominic's not gonna like hearing it, but I mean, right now, I have to lean towards Georgia. Only because it looks like their offense has found itself. I mean, we've been talking for the last third of the season. What's going on with this Georgia offense and how
especially Law Thompson, and boy did he show up.
and how they're just relying on Brett Dobson. It's like, okay, Brett Dobson is having the most historic year by a goalie ever, and it's almost like it's almost like that pitching ace mentality. Oh, it's our ace on the mound. All we got to do is scratch across 1 run, 2 runs, and we'll win. It doesn't always work like that. And we've seen that happen to Georgia. But boy, and that's this is no knock on Warren Hill, or anything like that. Cause I mean, we've seen Warren Hill
he shut out the Vancouver Warriors in a whole half.
A whole half, yeah.
And that's not,
and that's on top of some other just stellar performances we've seen from since the start of the year. I mean, that 11-2 game with Oshawa. That's one thing we didn't even mention was the fact that this Halifax offense. I mean, they've had 3 runs this year of 9 or more goals, and I'm not sure that any other team has even had 1.
I don't think they have.
I mean, they had 9 or 10 straight against Oshawa in that 11-2 game. They had the 10-goal comeback in the fourth quarter against Georgia, which is why I think is partly why people should be giving them a chance to see what the Thunderbirds are capable of offensively. I still, I think Georgia right now, I mean, I might change my mind later in the week, but I think they're going to squeak by because, I mean, I just don't see Dobson having the kind of collapse, that some folks might think will happen, just because he's young and it's playoffs and Georgia's young and all that. But I definitely think it's going to be a hard fought series. I'll let you go off on San Diego, Toronto, and what you think.
Yeah, honestly, boy, all this controversy now, I think you make a great point, Mike. Like, how much is that going to weigh on them now? And how much is that going to be a distraction? I mean, the fact they took out the Mammoth, and even if they had lost that game, the fact that they took the Mammoth to overtime is big. There are some concerns about that power play for sure. But to me, the Toronto Rock right now just look like it got everything clicking right now. I think it's going to be a tough series, honestly, for the Seals. That being said, Crystal Regularity has been outstanding. The Seals, who knows? I mean, again, like I said, we saw what they did with the Mammoth. They could surprise us all. I do like Toronto in that series, but honestly, going back to that Halifax Georgia series, you know what? A week ago, I'd probably think, this is probably Georgia in a walk. But now it's really hard to ignore that first round beating that they gave Vancouver, that's really hard to ignore.
Yeah, and I think you couple that with the fact that they might get Randy Stotts and or Thomas Hogarth back for this series.
Yeah.
Georgia likely will not have Michael Grace for this series or beyond. The rest of this year. Let's hope that's not serious, but oof. I mean,
Yeah, that did not look good though. I cannot see him coming back, but let's hope not.
no, yeah, and I mean, the defense will. It's a definitely a key part of their defense. I mean, fortunately they were the offense was clicking, and yeah, it's boy, both of these series are really going to be battle. I mean,
Yeah, like I
know it's not
don't
what
expect high scoring games, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Between Juan Dobson,
well, it hasn't been a high scoring season, so
yeah. Well, that's probably make the point with 9-goal run. Like I made the point, and there's been a lot of games where they barely scored 9 goals. One team. It's hard to have a 9-goal run when you barely scored 9 goals in a whole freaking game. So,
let's see where we were here compared to last year. Now I can do the comparison. Wow. Okay, so tallying up the goals now through this past weekend, 2,809 goals, and there were 98 scored this weekend in the 4 games. Same time last year, we had. Oh no, sorry, looking at the wrong week there. 2,809 goals for this year. Last year, after the quarterfinals, 3,005 goals. So we're just under 200 goals behind last year.
That's unbelievable.
Goals. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And again, we have the bandit rule this year.
Yeah, that was supposed to increase scoring, right? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it was designed to increase scoring, but the prevailing thought was this is going to result in an uptick in scoring when you don't have 3 guys crammed into the net, basically.
Yeah.
Block shots. So, and Buffalo managed to do the whole season without getting called for that, huh?
Yeah, I don't recall one call of theirs. Go figure.
Yep. All right. Well, I guess that's a good note to end on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, 3 games this weekend. Obviously, stick with all lacrosse all the time. We'll be recapping those games. Is Gary flying out tomorrow, or is he?
I should be, I think. Should be coming home soon. He'll be back next week for sure.
Yeah, he'll be here, and he will definitely be at the Toronto game Friday for sure. But stick with all lacrosse all the time. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Thread, bunch of others. And Gary runs that spiel like it's second nature.
Yeah.
It's almost become you hear it, but like you don't really hear it anymore. But we appreciate everyone tuning in. Thanks to Dominic and Arthur and Eduardo for chiming in. Appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week. Appreciate everyone tuning in each and every week. Stick with us. We'll have the rest of our recaps up hopefully by the end of tomorrow. And any other news that comes along, we'll be sure to break it to you guys as quickly and as accurately as we can.
Yeah.
So Gary will be back next week, and I'm sure there'll be almost as much drama to discuss next week. So for Shawn Slaght, Muffler Mike Kostiuk, and we'll see you all next week.
See you next week.
Sunday night.